What's up, everybody? So, my name is Dr. Virgil Leopold Still Jr. I am the grandson of the late Reverend Gerald Criswell, former mayor and commissioner of the city of Alachua. And this is my story. So, I was born and raised in Alachua, Florida. Went to school in Alachua County. I had my childhood upbringing between Alachua and Orlando. So, as a kid, I've had that city feel and exposure to the city and the life of the city. I've had all of that and had the opportunity to enjoy all of that. But one of the things I remember my past life as a kid, not my past life, but my past time as a kid growing up here in Alachua, is that Alachua once used to be a safe place. It was something to do for children every weekend. My family had cookouts. We were doing something. My grandparents got up, family members got up early in the morning. They went fishing. We came home from school as kids, and we came home to fried fish and crab boils on Fridays and events at the Ball Diamond. Call it the Ball Diamond. A lot of you may know that is Alachua Elementary School, but we call that the Ball Diamond. We used to have our festivals, African American festivals, down in the bottoms. And then not only that, I also remember my family going out in their fields, cropping their harvest, and not only cropping their harvest, but I grew up with sugar cane on the porch, collard greens, peas, okra, corn, tomatoes, sweet potatoes in general. I grew up with all that stuff around me as a kid. I grew up when a forest was not really considered a forest, it was your playground. When we went inside of places like the woods, the bushes, as y'all would call them, and we played. See, my childhood was so vast and so fun that we turned everything into an adventure as kids. So I grew up when we would walk the streets at 12 midnight as children and nothing crazy would happen to us. Sleep with our doors open. Nobody would do anything to you, no harm would come to you. I grew up with bushes like this behind me, undiscovered and untouched, was a place to explore for arrowheads and all kind of indigenous objects, finding knives and stone carvings. Looking at dirt mounds here in this city was amazing. Then also I grew up knowing that one day that change would come. Never in my life did I know that forest would be overtaken by homes. But my ancestors and forebearers were not stingy with their city. They were not stingy with their dirt. And they made sure everybody who wanted to come could come. They're not afraid of big box stores, not afraid of Lowe's, not afraid of Dollar General or Family Dollars coming in. My grandfather and my grandmother, they may not be here to see the city as it is today, but I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have a problem with it. I got my first job at a big box grocery store, a chain from Del Hayes, South Carolina, North Carolina, Durham, called Food Lion. That was my first job in high school. I was a young kid. I worked at that Food Lion proudly. Started there as a service clerk, immediately advanced over to a cashier. And from a cashier, I started training baggers and cashiers. And from there, I started managing baggers and cashiers, counting the money in the safe, being responsible for the front end of the store, all the finances. But it was at that store that I was able to get an income. Nobody had 401k here for me when I started and worked. Nobody downtown could offer me a retirement. Um, Nobody down there could actually offer me a paycheck that I can get a raise or advance in as fast as I did there. But because the store had the backing it did, I was able to see my future grow fast for 5 years. I worked at that store. 5 years I worked, I earned my pay, and I got my raises. Didn't have to be denied a raise because they couldn't afford it. I had sick leave, vacation pay, all of that. Right at that store. You see, Alachua is a city who's built on the backs of its culture. Black, white, green, yellow, and purple live right here in Alachua. They are the backbones of this city. When we talk about Alachua being someone from Alachua, to y'all who call it Alachua are not from Alachua. And we know it because we don't call it Alachua, we call it Alachua. And to some of you, that may be strange, but we call it Alachua because to us, that's what it is. It's not Alachua, it's Alachua or Alachua. What's difficult to understand is that people who come here have not been here, whose family roots are not here. I could chart my ancestry all the way back to the 18th century, to the first settlement of Alachua in Noonesville, where my great-great-grandfather came here from Georgia as a Native American, had a settlement in Noonesville. I could chart my ancestry to all the way back there, where my family owned land in all of those areas. From Noonesville to Burness Lake Road. I remember as a kid, we used to go fishing to Burness Lake, chasing cooters and running from gators. That's what we did. You see, that's part of my history. But there are some that have come to Alachua, and even some who are in Alachua now, that have been brainwashed. They've been brainwashed to believe that a small town needs no growth, needs no change. We get the same people who say the small town needs no growth, needs no change, complains about the young kids not having a job, not having anything to do. Constantly saying the young people need something to do. All they want to do is smoke weed, sell drugs, steal, and break in houses. But I tell you, what is disappointing is that when I moved back here to Alachua 10 years ago, after living in places like Gainesville for 12 years, Tallahassee, Florida, I came back to Alachua and I looked at a city that was struggling to thrive above the status quo of the entire world, above what state of Florida really is. You see a tourist town when you come here. Many of you want Alachua to be slow. It was never meant to be slow. The founders of Alachua knew it was not meant to be slow, nor remain slow. The truth of the matter is that we have been trying to slow evolution for years, and we have only did one thing in achieving that. It is bottlenecking it down, but eventually it will split through the cracks of that bottleneck, and it'll become so explosive that things will begin to happen overnight, rapidly in front of our face and out of our control. You can slow revolution, but you cannot stop it. So let me preface you real quick, those of you who are on the opposition side of this, who are afraid of growth, who are ignorant to the possibilities and the potential that stores and businesses bring to this city. I've heard both sides of the argument, but many of you have not made a precise decision. Many of you have not actually sat down and looked at the numbers. Alachua has a poverty rate of 24%. Now, when I mentioned that before, someone said, oh, that's good. But Alachua also has a population of 10,800 people. So that shows me that ignorance is bliss in this city. I'm not calling you ignorant, but what I'm saying is that we have a lot of people that are saying, don't do this and don't do that. I've heard a lot of people that are tree activists, cutting down the trees. Who's going to replant the trees? If you're interested in planting trees, plant them in your yard. Because we didn't complain when we cut down trees to let you in here. We didn't complain when we were cutting down our precious forest that we played in as kids. When our grandparents told us that we can't play in it no more because it belonged to this property owner now. We didn't complain when you were putting houses where our fruit trees grow, where our farms were, where we picked harvest and sugarcane and all these crops, where I see houses sitting on property that my family enjoyed so many years ago. We didn't complain. But now that we want a box store, to come in here to employ our troubled youth, to give the next generation an opportunity like we had. Now there are people who have not been here, who are not from here. Whether you're sitting on that panel and you're not from Alachua, maybe you've been here 3 minutes ago, you don't know Alachua. Maybe you come from a big city and you came here because it was small and you want a small way of city of living, then move to Wisconsin or move to a city that can house your thinking. This city will not house it. Not now and not ever. If you are afraid of this city becoming anything greater than what it should be, then I need for you to realize that your fear will not stop the next generation. You see, the crazy thing about evolution is this. Evolution moves with life. And many of you biting the inside of your cheeks. I mean, sucking your teeth, proud and beating on your chest because you think you're stalling something and hindering something. Do you not know that you won't live forever? I won't live forever. This world will not be here forever. But one thing I'm certain about is whether you do it now or a generation will come and they'll do it, and they'll do it out of an uncontrolled circumstance. And they'll take the same buildings, the same businesses that we don't want here, and they will allow them to be built on top of the mounds that sealed our sarcophagi. If you are not careful, the one thing that you stop will be the one thing that end up sitting on top of your grave. Alachua is its people, it's its culture. It is the blood of the people who have sweat to build it before it had all the Lowe's, the Dollar Generals, the Dollar Trees, the Walmarts. I remember when we had Greshams and Hitchcocks and Bev's Better Burger. I remember when we were limited to those things. I remember when the police department was up Main Street and City Hall was over by the library and the library was down Main Street. As a matter of fact, I remember as a kid going to the library every day after school playing, having fun at the library with friends. That's the city I grew up in. Now I see the libraries in a different spot, City Hall's in a different spot, police department's in a different spot. I see evolution. I see us move from Gresham's to a CVS to a Walgreens. I see evolution. You see, if you look around Alachua now, where there once was nothing, there's something. That is evolution. That is forced change that is out of you and I's control. It's weird, though, that we're concerned about a Walmart coming because of quote-unquote traffic and trees, but Lowe's took down more traffic, more trees than a little bit. But who's complaining? You'll never make anybody happy unless it's their idea, and that's fine. So let's say if you win this, you succeed to stalling it, holding Walmart back. When this next generation needs a job that's going to pay them and pay them well, pay them with medical, life insurance, health insurance, give them a good quality raise, and they can't find it here, are you willing to make an oath, a promise, to join and be a village for the citizens of this city, for the youth of this city? Because you got to remember, your decision affects more than you. You see it as something that is your benefit, something that you don't like, something that you don't care about. It's just like the Half-Cock Community Center. Many of you have your own agendas concerning this. It's not your legacy. Why are you so up in an uproar? Get over it. Let the people have what they need. Some people want it in their own community. Get the money and put it in your own community. You got a problem? Get one in your community. But don't turn people against something that's beneficial for them. One thing about people who receive information from people who are educated and they don't have the level of education, they're easily manipulated. There are people with education advancing their agendas above your head, and you're eating it up like it's a feast at a Sunday dinner. If you don't do your own research, ask your own questions, you're going to fall for every snake that gets in front of your face and tells you that the idea is bad. It's a bad idea. They shouldn't do this and they shouldn't do that. Ask them why. Ask them, are they planning to foot the bill to preserve this next generation? Are they planning to take these kids and put them into college? Are they planning to pay for their tuition? Are you planning to pay for their dental and health care? Do you have the money to pay for their retirement? The craziest thing is that you want to stop jobs from coming for the next generation, but because you're not asking the right questions, you're not doing the right research, nobody has went in to look and see how this is going to benefit the future. Everybody's concerned on the opposition side about it being about themselves, about all this other stuff. Are you hiring? Is the question. Can you afford to pay these kids $20 an hour? Because even at the rate of $15 an hour, it's not enough. So can you pay them $20 an hour? If your answer is no, I'm going to leave you with this. You can slow evolution, but the bottleneck is cracking. And eventually, it's going to explode. And what you thought you had the power to stop with opinions and group debates, chants and banter, it's going to fail. And when it spills over into your lap, because it will, it's going to be too late to say, I'm sorry. When this next generation is homeless and hungry, when they're uneducated, can't find jobs and living on the streets, and you want to build more senior housing for people who don't have the money to even barely pay for a lot of groceries now, you're forgetting that we need a future. We're driving our youth away from this city. And you know what that means? A city without a future will cease to exist. And if that's what you want for Alachua, keep crying about the trees. Keep crying about the traffic. Keep getting in your feelings because it wasn't your idea. Keep getting mad and upset because they ain't doing it your way. Who cares? But if they all pack up and leave for better opportunities, what you gonna do when you're on an island by yourself and there's nobody there to save you? Because if the people go, so does the businesses. So you got to realize we bring business in to give jobs to the people here so they don't go. But if they ever leave, that's a problem. And then it increases our GDP. A lot you all don't understand. There's a lot of economics to this. How many of you have a public administration degree? None. I'm gone. It's just a lot that I could say, but I'm just going to go and leave you with that. So on February 27th, I want you to go to that meeting. And I want you to voice your opinion for the next generation, not for yourself. Stand for the next generation. They need you to stand in their support. Be the voice that they cannot be. And look to their future and not your own twisted, selfish desires. Because it's your desires that's going to cause a generation to end up in the same state that the previous one is. Federal prison, county jails, homeless, on drugs, thugs, rapists, drug dealers, and all of the above. Don't complain. Don't complain about the youth going down the wrong path when you're shutting the door to a future for them. I am Alachua. The question is, are you?